Jackman butt. Oh my god, Jackman butt. We got a Jackman butt here. Wait, jackass. We have a jackass in the house. Days of Future Past, released in 2014 and is directed by Bryan Singer, who is behind such films like The Usual Suspects, X-Men, X2, X-Men United, Superman Returns, and every parent's worst nightmare when it comes to their children having a party at Chuck E. Cheese's. And this film has an amazing huge-ass cast of Hugh Jackman, James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, Jennifer Lawrence, Halle Berry, Elliot Page, Peter Dinklage, Ian McKellen, and Patrick Stewart. Plus everyone you've ever seen in an X-Men film up until this point who hadn't died between the times of X-Men First Class and this movie. And hell, even people that did die in other X-Men films, because that's the thing about this Fox Marvel universe back when it was owned by Fox and Marvel Studios didn't acquire it. But back then when they were, talking about continuity, they were basically like, screw continuity, we're just gonna do whatever the fuck we want. Kitty Pryde can walk through walls. Awesome, we've established that. And here, she has telekinetic powers that can send consciousnesses back into the past. Sure. I'm assuming along the way she gained those powers. How she gained those powers, I have no frickin' idea, nor do I care to know, because I'm just telling my brain, shut off, and just go with this. There's a dark dystopian future where mutants and any humans who help mutants, the only ones who are left alive is a small group of the remaining X-Men. Kitty Pryde, Isis, Colossus, and a couple of new people, Blink, Warpath, and Bishop. And once they are joined by Wolverine, Storm, Magneto, and Professor X, they hatch a plan to go back in time and to change the mindsets of the people so that they wouldn't end up creating the super powerful Sentinel program that ends up exterminating all the mutants in the future. So Kitty Pryde sends Wolverine's consciousness back to 1973, where he attempts to convince warring mutants with each other, Magneto, who is in prison for killing JFK, and a hippie junked out Professor Xavier. And as I'm watching this movie, my wife leans over to me and says, you know what? Hippie James McAvoy is really doing it for me. That's the relationship that we have. But I remember when this film was announced and thinking that, no, this is never going to happen. There is no way you can take all of these egos who have been in the X-Men franchise before from the original trilogy. Hugh Jackman, Halle Berry, who wanted their salaries really increased for that last X-Men movie, and then put them with people who in essence, are replacing them in these characters. James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, Jennifer Lawrence, all of these people. It ain't gonna happen. Spoiler alert, it happened. And what we end up getting is one of the best X-Men movies in the entire Fox Marvel X-Men franchise. Time back when Marvel Studios and Disney didn't own everything in the world. There was this nice third-party movie studio universe that we were getting alongside DC and Marvel, of course. It's just a nice little separate avenue to have. And looking back on the grand scheme of that entire universe, this, I guess, would be considered to be the Avengers Endgame of the X-Men universe before Endgame was even a concept in their minds. Let's take every character who we have ever had in this universe and the original actors who played them and shove them all into one movie. Cool, let's do that. And we get a really cool sci-fi thriller drama here. Wolverine, or at least Wolverine's consciousness, has to go back into his younger body in 1973 and go convince James McAvoy's Professor Xavier, who is all drugged up because he keeps hearing the voices in his head, and all of his mutants, all of his students go off to fight the Vietnam War. And there's so much pain that he doesn't want to hear everyone anymore, so he juices on this super serum that Beast takes to hide his blue and furry self, but he overdoses, so he gets the feeling of his legs back, but his powers are gone. And I really love James McAvoy's interpretation of Professor Xavier. We know Xavier, especially those of us that grew up with him, we know him as Patrick Stewart, who Patrick Stewart has an air, a gravitas about himself already. He's frickin' Captain Jean-Luc Picard, for Christ's sake. But when Patrick Stewart comes on screen, you immediately, all attention to him. He's got the respect. He has the floor. He is the leader of everyone. But I remember hearing an interview with James McAvoy for X-Men First Class, and he definitely respects what Patrick Stewart does, and doesn't want to disrespect him by doing a parody or an impersonation of him. What he wants to do is work up to getting to that point where Patrick Stewart was in the original X-Men movie. And that's the sign to me of an expert and brilliant actor, because you never want to copy someone's performance. Yes, you do want to maybe start developing little facial tics and little nuances that the original person put into the character, but you really need to make it your own. And that's what McAvoy does here. Plus, he's given a lot to work with the substance abuse and the fighting with himself of, I want my powers, I need my powers to help everyone, to help the situation, but I also like having the ability to move and have the ability of my legs. So it's a fascinating little internal battle that we get with him. Plus a pretty cool and emotional scene that he has with Patrick Stewart's Professor Xavier. Awesome. And Hugh Jackman is back as Wolverine, who has just muscles in places where people don't even have places, veins popping everywhere. Just thinking how much chicken he had to eat in one day leading up to the Jackman butt, the jackass scene. And you look and you see muscles in his butt and in his back. It's like, no person has those muscles. What horse tranquilizer are you taking that you were able to get those muscles? Jesus Christ. And this is a little bit of a rewrite because the concept here and the title of this movie, it actually was a comic from the X-Men universe, but in the comic, they actually send back Kitty Pryde to the past. But here, in the movieverse, Wolverine is the coolest and Hugh Jackman is the coolest, so yeah, we're gonna use him over Elliot Page. That's just gonna happen. So I totally get it. And this is one pretty damn good emotional story. The sins of your past are coming back to bite you in the ass 50 years down the road. So to see the older versions of Xavier and Magneto realize that and talking to each other saying, why were we fighting? We had opposing viewpoints, and yes, they are metaphors, they are allegories for Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. from the Civil Rights Act. But you look back at it in the future and go, why were you fighting? You were both fighting for the same cause. Why were you fighting with each other? I like all that realization. Now, it's come to my attention, I completely forgot about this. I've only seen the theatrical cut of this movie, but I remember about a year after this movie was released, on DVD, on Blu-ray, there was a Rogue cut of X-Men Days of Future Past, because I remember seeing Anna Paquin's Rogue in the very end of this movie as a nice little cameo, and I was like, okay, she's there. I'm just glad she wasn't in the movie, because her character, her interpretation of Rogue is my least favorite thing about the entire X-Men franchise. That, and of course the entire movie of Dark Phoenix, but we don't want to talk about that right now. But apparently, she was supposed to be a pretty big deal in the original cut of this movie, where she was going to be broken out of Cerebro to come to take the powers of Kitty Pryde because Kitty Pryde was injured, and then Rogue was going to take over and keep Wolverine back in the past. Which I'm glad they changed that, because that just seems like a pretty shitty thing to do to the character of Kitty Pryde, who this whole story was originally based on. I'm glad they took her out. Plus, I just don't like Anna Paquin or her interpretation of Rogue. So, maybe she's a nice person. I don't know. I've never met her in person, but just from what I've seen in films. Ugh. After watching those deleted scenes, though, you can tell that there is a lull in the middle of this movie. After the conference in France, and when the plan doesn't come together, there is a drop in energy, and there's a drop in pacing of this entire movie, and that's where the Rogue part was supposed to come in. So I definitely feel that there, but, to me, it's still a great movie, and the pieces that we do get in that lull period, I think advance the characters brilliantly. The only black mark that I see on this entire movie is Jennifer Lawrence's Mystique. In X-Men First Class, she did have energy, and it seemed like she wanted to be there, but here, and I don't know if it was just Jennifer Lawrence fatigue, or if she was just in everything, and then everyone was realizing, like, wow, you are a pretty one-note actor, and you do the exact same thing for every single role, and you never do anything different. Maybe people were just realizing, like, wow, you're pretty boring, or they could see the writing on the wall where it's like, no, you just don't want to be here at all, because her delivery of these lines, it feels like she's just fucking around, and she's just punching the clock and seeing how long she needs to be on set. I noticed it a little bit back in 2014 with this film, but now watching it many years later, it's so freaking obvious. So from Jennifer Lawrence's side, I think this movie is great, and it's one of the best of the entire X-Men franchise. We have amazing set pieces where Magneto takes an entire baseball stadium and drops it on the White House to create a barrier around him. How badass is Magneto? It's just another example of just the shame of Michael Fassbender not breaking that glass ceiling and going to the next level, because he is an awesome actor. And just his stonewall face of Magneto as he just knows that he's owning everyone. I love him here. Why does no one else see how cool Michael Fassbender is? It's a really satisfying movie. This movie has stakes. People die in this movie. The whole time travel concept, I will let you know, if you've never seen this before, you do have to turn off your brain for that. That's the thing with time travel movies. You have to lay down the rules of how time travel works in your universe, and you need to stick to that. They lay down the rules, but they also contradict what this entire plot and what the suspense is of this entire thing. We need to send your consciousness back into the past to change the past, to affect our future. And there's no multiverse, there's no multiple timelines or whatever. If we change the past, we will disappear because we would never have existed. Okay, so how is it that we send people back to 1973, and then events happen in 1973, but events are still playing out in the future, 50 years down the road, where they're trying to block all the Sentinels from coming and killing Kitty Pryde and killing Wolverine, while they're doing the whole time travel thing. Because if they already did the time travel thing, that already happened. So it would, at least in my analysis of this entire concept, once you send him back, that should immediately affect the present, where you're at. So why does it take time for that to happen? In other words, oh my god, I've gone cross-eyed. Don't overthink it. If you do, yeah, you're probably not going to enjoy this movie at all. I found myself questioning that several times for this review here, but I just immediately stop it, just go with it. It's X-Men, it's two different casts coming together, just have a good time. In other words, just shut up, okay? I'm watching the movie. Gosh, shut up! I'm going to give X-Men Days of Future Past 4.5 out of 5 Blu-rays.
It's good. It's good.
Alright everyone, now comes to my favorite part of my videos where I randomly select which movie I'm going to be watching next, so let's take a look. Alita: Battle Angel! And I remember getting this movie for Black Friday, because that's the big thing that I always do on Black Friday, is Blu-ray and DVD shop, and this was one of those extremely marked down movies. I've never watched it. This is a James Cameron movie, right? Didn't he direct this? I'm not gonna look it up until next time. But I remember watching the trailer, and I think this is based on an anime of some kind. I know Christoph Waltz is here, and then the main girl, Alita, she has like really big eyes. And that's all I know about this character. It's set in the future, I'm assuming, and again, another dystopian future where the things are crap and there's only one prophesized savior to save everyone. That's what I'm guessing here. I have no idea. But we'll check out Alita: Battle Angel next time. If any of you have recommendations of films that you want me to review on here, you can leave a recommendation below this video, or go to my Facebook page, my Instagram, or my Twitter, leave your recommendation there, and if I have access to it, I will watch, review it, and give you a shout on the channel. And if you want me to do your recommendation as quickly as I possibly can and bypass the whole random generator that I have here, you can make a PayPal donation on the main page of my YouTube channel. Any size donation will do, just attach your movie with the donation, and if I have access to it, I will watch it and publish my review of it as quickly as I possibly can. So guys, have you seen X-Men Days of Future Past? What did you think about it? Where does it rank in all of your X-Men, Fox, Marvel films? Whatever you thought, comment below, let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button, and make sure you hit that bell so you'll know the next time I release my next movie review. So guys, I will see you next time with my review of Alita: Battle Angel. So in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.